I don't think I've ever met a sales leader that doesn't agree that sales coaching is critically important to success. The data certainly supports it. Sales coaching is a critical part of ramping up new salespeople and keeping existing salespeople on track to the kind of performance that we want. Unfortunately, what passes for sales coaching is often nothing short of a disaster. In today's episode, I'm going to give you some tips, some techniques that are going to make a difference today. This is Sales Untraining, a very different kind of sales podcast. 3 out of 4 salespeople are failing. They're falling short of their revenue. Why doesn't sales training work? That's what this sales podcast is about. It's your weekly sales strategy guide designed to rewire your sales brain. Hey, welcome to Sales Untraining, episode number 4, as we talk about one of my favorite topics, sales coaching. Hey, I hope you'll like, subscribe, share the podcast with people you know. Sales Untraining. It's your weekly sales strategy guide designed to do one thing, completely rewire your sales brain. As we talk weekly about why sales training is not all that effective. To review briefly, roughly 6% of all salespeople are considered to be elite. Another 20% or so do okay, could be better with more training and development. 3 out of 4 failing. Well, the bottom 25% are considered to be hopeless. But each year, the statistical data tells us that less than half of people are actually reaching their revenue objective for the year. That's not good considering we're spending $70 billion a year on sales training, right? So today we're going to talk about sales coaching and how it impacts training, development, learning, and performance. Some data to share with you. I mean, who disagrees with the notion that sales coaching is critically important? If you want players to get better, you have to have someone who can help them grow. Some of the data says this: 7% of all sales managers are considered to be effective at coaching, according to over 2.3 million assessments done by objective management groups. 63%, almost 2 out of 3 sales managers, weak. Yeah, in the bottom percentiles, and they shouldn't even be in sales management. I mean, think about that. What's the typical scenario for promotion into sales management? Well, I know how we did it. I bet it's the same as the way you do it. You look at your best salespeople and you say, this person knows how to sell. They're going to be a great sales manager. Well, no, not exactly. Can they learn? Sure. But do we test them? Do we assess their capabilities? Do we develop those habits that need to be strengthened in order to be good? Primarily, obviously, coaching salespeople. Have you ever noticed that great players in sports rarely make great coaches? No, I mean, it's rare. Think of Major League Baseball, Major League Basketball, NBA. Look at the NFL. Look at college sports, football, basketball. The greatest coaches are often pedestrian players, maybe slightly above average. Oh, it happens, but it's rare. The Hall of Fame player who becomes a Hall of Fame coach or a championship winning coach in the National Football League has happened exactly one time. Extra credit if you know who it is. A Hall of Fame player who went on to win a Super Bowl. Mike Ditka, Chicago Bears. That's it. That's our data set. NBA, not much better. Major League Baseball, not so good at all. In fact, the best players typically make bad coaches. Typically. Why? You got to ask yourself why. Here's some ideas. A lot of research on this, but what it says is they're impatient. They typically don't know why they're good at what they do. They just do it. Got great work ethic, great instincts, great intuition. The game comes to them. They just know how. They don't have a lot of patience trying to figure out why you're not good at it. In fact, they get frustrated with it. What is wrong with you? And if you don't have the same intensity and passion and desire that they do, they don't want to waste time with you. Boy, I wish it was that easy in the real world, but not every salesperson that you hire is going to be Michael Jordan. No, you're actually going to have to earn your pay. You're going to have to develop, coach people to improvement. Which leads us to the question, exactly what is coaching? how does it vary from training? Well, in my world, I distinguish between training and coaching. Training is when we give you those skills that you've never learned. When we begin to teach you something new, that's training. When you've never been exposed to it or just have a knowledge of it but have never seen how it exactly works, that's teaching, that's training, that's first time go round. But to get better, to improve, to refine, to get that last little bit of performance, typically I call that coaching. I played college football. Okay, retraction. I was on the team. I got a jersey. I had a number. I was in the program. I played just enough to get a letter, but to say that I played might be stretching the bounds of the definition a little bit, but I played enough to get a letter, and I got on the field some, and it was an experience. And I've had the opportunity to experience good and bad coaching. In fact, the last position coach I had was a dumpster fire. I mean, he was as bad as they get. But I've had some really good coaches, and if you've spent any time in team sports, you've probably experienced the same, good ones and bad ones. And we could get into that discussion of what constitutes a good coach and a bad coach. Think about it as we have this conversation. But let me tell you what coaching isn't. It isn't standing on the sidelines yelling out to the player on the field saying, you need to do that better. You need to do more of this and you need to do more of that. That's not what coaches do in the sports world, not the good ones. The good ones step out on the field and they help you get better. They show you exactly what you need to improve. They repeat it as often as is necessary. I played wide receiver in college. My coach didn't stand on the sideline and say, Riggs, you need to run that route better. Well, occasionally he did, but it's after he spent significant time explaining exactly how to run the route. Footwork, positioning, coming off the break, creating separation, getting your number to the quarterback so they can see the window where they need to throw. And if you can't do those things, if you can't get open, the coach will work with you to help you improve. And if you can't improve, then guess what? You're not going on the field and you might not even make the team, right? That's the way it works. But the coach is there to help you with the nuances, the things that make a difference, the things that help you change your performance and improvement. That's not what I see in the world of sales. What it sounds like in the world of sales is non-specific stuff. I mean, the stuff that passes for sales coaching is ridiculous. Listen, here's a sales coach talking to his salesperson. Listen, you're going to need to get focused. All right? I mean, I just don't feel like you've got your mind in the game. You're going to have to get focused. Okay. What does that look like exactly? Hey, you need to make more calls. The numbers are clear. You need to make more calls. Really? Making more calls equals more sales automatically? No, I don't think so. The type of call, the quality of call, the right opportunity, the right decision maker, and on it goes, right? And so a lot of sales leaders, sales managers think that coaching is simply telling people where they need to improve. That's not coaching. The type of coaching we're talking about is the kind of coaching that's specific and helps people get better at what they do. And so you've got to be able to understand what makes a great salesperson, the process, the sales process, the planning, the development, the skills, the individual skills that you have to stack one on another in order to progress through that opportunity, ultimately getting the deal, signing the contract, getting the check, implementing your solution, all of those skills. And there's a lot of them that are critically important. You, as a sales leader, have to help your people get better at those skills. Let's look at some of the things that you can start doing today that are going to make you a better sales coach. Hey, thanks for making Sales Untraining your first listen of the week. And if you find something you like, if you hear something that's interesting, I hope you'll share it with somebody you know. You can find out more about me at bizlockerroom.com or email me, Kelly@bizlockerroom.com. Now back to the show. Every leader wants their sales team to be better. Nobody really has a good grasp of how to get that done. Well, very few. This change is extraordinarily difficult. I know because I do it every day. Working with sales organizations, trying to change them systemically. We don't do change. We don't like change. We'd like to get, a 4-hour training magic bullet that magically makes us a better sales team and magically changes our results. That's adorable. But it's just not working. Hey, effective sales coaching begins and ends with relationships. I don't want to get too trite and I don't want to lose you in this process, but suffice it to say that most sales coaching fails at the level that it's perceived not to be sales coaching at all. It's perceived to be more criticism than coaching. In fact, one of the interesting dynamics in human psychology is you can say the exact same thing to two different people, and one person can come away from that conversation saying, man, I really love having that opportunity to spend with them. I always get good feedback. I get good information, and I'm going to be better as a result. A second person, without that trust, without that relationship, comes away going, every time I talk to that guy, he criticizes me. Seems like he's never got anything good to say. I think a lot of sales leaders don't invest enough time in their people to understand who they are, what they do, why they do it, what motivates them, what demotivates them. Building a relationship of respect and professionalism and integrity enables me as a sales coach to have that individual's ear when it's time to change their direction, right? Because sales coaching it's about change, and we don't do change all that well. The brain perceives change as a threat. And so if my approach to sales coaching is to immediately jump in with very little foundation in place and start telling people what they need to do differently. And by the way, as I mentioned, that's what sales coaching often sounds like. You need to. In other words, let me tell you what you need to be doing differently. Now go do it. And that's a problem because it's not instructive. It's not taking somebody and actually showing them what they should do differently. Interesting idea, the word management, which this is more about leadership, I get it, but the word management actually comes from the original French, to hold by the hand. It often shocks people when they hear that. And I'll ask people, hey, do you think management is about holding people's hands? Am I advocating you should hold their hand? And the overwhelming response is absolutely not. I'm like, yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. Now, before you mutiny right here, let me explain. When you're teaching a child how to cross the street, what do? When they're young, they don't know. You take them by the hand and you tell them exactly what to do as you demonstrate it to them. Look this way, look that way. What we're trying to do is make sure there's no cars coming. And then we walk them across the street, holding them gently by the hand. And we only tell them once, because if they can't get it after one instruction, then there's something. No, we do it time and again until it becomes habit, right? And then we let go of their hand and we stand on this side of the street. As they start to cross, we go, now hang on, what are we supposed to do? Oh yeah, reminder, and they look both ways, and then they turn and smile and wave, and across the street they go. I mean, if we're still holding their hand or walking out and checking on them when they're 12 or 14, clearly we've done something wrong. But then we're doing something completely new that we're holding them by the hand. About age 16, that's called teaching them how to drive. Yikes. But it's a process. And the more they trust me, the more they respect me, the more open they are to suggestions about change. And I think this is one of the things that sales leaders get wrong. They don't invest in the time to create those relationships, to build that trust. So when we need to go a different direction, that individual's all ears. They trust you, right? It's completely underappreciated in terms of its impact on sales coaching. Listen, if you are a great salesperson, You were top of the class and you got promoted to sales leadership, sales management because you were a great salesperson. What you did was get recognized for being a great doer. But being a great sales manager, a great sales leader is not about you doing it anymore. It's about you teaching and developing someone to learn how to do it. You know what works against you in a big way? Efficiency. I mean, you're hardwired to be efficient. You can juggle 10 plates at once. You're going from one task to the next and you're getting things done. Now you're the sales manager and you've got about that long in your mind to invest in somebody's training and development. That, my friend, is killing you. You can't be efficient with people. You just can't. You've got to stop and invest time in training and development, helping them get better in the smaller nuances of the skills, the mindsets, the habits that they need to improve their performance. Many sales managers are terrible coaches because they just don't invest the time. And they justify it to themselves with the 4 most dangerous words in any leader's vocabulary. I don't have time. If you don't have time to coach, what are you doing? Now, a lot of you are saying, time out. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing reports and CRM and budgets and, going to meetings and all that. Yes, that is a problem. If you can't carve out time to develop people, then you're not a leader. I'm sorry, you're not. Well, you are by position and title. You're just not very good at it, right? And I get it. Listen, I do this. I train leaders. I train sales leaders a lot. Train CEOs and executive teams. I get it. It is very difficult when you're already working 50 to 60 hours a week and you hear someone like me say, you need to invest in a relationship. You need to spend time with those people. You need to be coaching and training time and developing them. But that's what you get paid to do. It takes a very substantial analysis of what's important and what moves the needle. Let me ask you a question. Does more meetings and better budgets and more time in CRM, does that move the needle? The answer is no. Until players get better in their role, in their position, then the team doesn't improve, right? So you have to first invest in the people. And that's not some trite, simplified concept. It's essential to gaining the trust where they'll step out and do the things that you're asking them to do. The second thing, obviously, is if you're going to coach, it's got to be skill specific. Listen, pro tip, I've said it 2 or 3 times. If you hear yourself saying you need to, you're not coaching. You're doing it wrong. If you want me to make more calls, let's talk about what types of calls, why that's important, how you advance those calls. Give me a step 1, 2, 3. Creating clarity about direction is critically important. Working on specific skills in real time, and you know by now that I'm a big fan of role play for that specific reason. That's what enables people to get better. If you don't practice, you don't change habits. You can't simply tell people what to do and expect them to change their world, change their habits. First off, it is incredibly difficult to break an old habit. Here's what happens. They go into some scenario where they need to do something different. It's in their conscious mind. They're thinking about it. They know they need to do it differently. But as they start to stumble and struggle and stutter along. And so in order to save face and not look silly, they immediately revert back to that old habit. We've all done it. So why not practice until it becomes an unconscious exercise? I can do it without thinking, and that way I can proceed through the call, then analyze it after the call to see where I need to get better. And then the third thing you really need to think hard about is how much time are you spending with these people in the real world? Are you doing calls, sales calls with them? You've got to help people shape a path. And many times you've got to get on that path with them and yes, hold their hand for a little while. It's not demeaning. We're not saying, I hear this all the time from managers. Well, they should know how to do that. Okay, but if they don't, is that your fallback position? Well, go back to number 1. They should know how to do it. No, your job as the sales coach, sales leader, sales manager is to help them improve their performance. I mean, again, it'd be really nice if all we had to do was sit back and go hire 5 or 6 top-level, high-performance, top 6% salespeople and sit back and, watch the funnel and watch it happen. Well, if you get that job, good for you. It doesn't exist, but if you find it, I'd love to hear about it. Any sales leader who has been great in their role will tell you it's a journey, it's a lot of work, and when you get good people, you're going to lose them because they're going to promote out of your department. Right? You should be trying to train, coach, develop your replacement all the time. When your people are that good, then they're going to attract more A players. And if you get promoted, hopefully, and you move up the ladder or move out to a new place or opportunity, you've got your replacement ready to go. But when you've got 3 or 4 people as good as you are in their jobs, they can do it without you. Life is very, very good. It's all a function of sales coaching. And one of the reasons why we need to rethink completely, rewire our sales brains, is sales training doesn't work when all you do is give them the information, give it to them one time, don't reinforce, practice, and develop those habits, and leave people to do to their own, hoping that it'll go well, because it won't. Thanks for joining me here on Sales and Training. I'll see you next time.
Sales Untraining is a production of Business Locker Room and Pod About It Productions. Music and editing by Doug Branson. To get more Kelly, visit bizlockerroom.com.